Alright folks, welcome to this episode. This exciting video starts where the last one left off. We've just been at this historical wonder over here, which was a stone dam. Now we're away to make our way back. I think this river's still rising with the rains that we've had up the glen. AKR's featuring again. This is it folks, real adventures. We're away to try and make our way back. You saw pretty much, I spoke about the history of this area last time in the last video. This time it's more just me navigating my way back. Hopefully these cows are going to give us no hassle, but you never do know. We could quite easily climb over here. If you saw in the last episode folks, we went around the edge of the field where the castle was. Inverquarity Castle. This is the field. So we're away to try and do it again now. And look, the cows is coming down. Totally on edge here folks. We're just keeping it cool because there's 3 cows that's like right here. They're wanting to see what we are up to. Once we get round here we're okay. See, they're not even bothered about us, we're just keeping it chilled. If we started running, they would start running. Maybe towards us, and that's what we don't want. A cow could run up this hill quicker than us probably. So once we're up the hill we're okay. That was intense. We've made it. Well, that went about as well as it could have. Most of the cows is over there. Look at the way the sun's shining through the clouds. Look at this folks, I've got cow pat all up my legs. Cow pat all over my shoes. We explore these abandoned locations so you don't have to. I just heard the shotgun going off there to my left. But who knows folks, they shouldn't be shooting us. Right folks, last time on the last episode I says that we hadn't seen the bit where the river Prosen joined the river southwest, but actually we have just found it. On the far side of this field near that big white house you can see the Prosen coming down that way through the trees, and then the southwest coming down this way, and then the 2 burns join there, and then that old burn that we followed the route of it joins further down. So yeah, there you go. That's where the Prosen meets the southwest. Right here on BKR folks. We're going back along the top of this hill away from the coos. Along this old walk. Past these ancient trees. It's incredible, like the size of them. Imagine the history they've seen. On this field to my left as well, it was a big Roman settlement. Probably one of the main settlements around this area. So you can just imagine the wee buildings with the smoke coming out the chimneys. The Roman warriors walking the boundary. They'd have probably been out catching like a lot of game and deer and whatever else is kicking about out here to feed the whole community. You can just imagine the Romans arriving on horseback from their European, what would you call it, conquerors? Their European conquerors. Is that a word? This settlement here is as far as the Roman road came. So you can imagine at this side it was like the New World, and at this other side here it was the land of the barbarians. It would have probably been a lot more trees and stuff at that time. Untamed landscapes. I do apologise for the wind here folks. It's part of being a Scottish YouTuber, like now and again I'm trying to cover it. There's an old vintage Land Rover going along there. We're just pondering the edge of these ancient, magnificent trees. AKR says that could be maybe 1600s even. Maybe at the time when that Inverquarity Castle was built, this was a little Maybe this was an original drive into it along here. Horse and cart maybe coming in foggy, stormy nicks. Because the clocks have now changed here in Scotland, like it gets dark an hour earlier in the evening. Here's a really old one, folks. It's hard to actually see. It says Jim White, Annie Milne or something. Jim White and Annie Milne. Sorry if you can't hear me for the wind, folks. It says Jim White and Annie Milne there on that tree. That's probably some old couple long gone nowadays. They were maybe sitting there having a picnic one day, carving their names into the trees. I'll have a look at any old names on the trees that we didn't see in the last episode, because that alone is a little piece of history. We can see what year people were sitting here. Look, somebody's written the letter I on this tree. Is that Roman numerals for 1? Was that the year 1 they put that there, Car?
You never know.
Something's been carved out here. This is where the main ancient settlement was. You can actually see there's a ridge in the land here. What do you think, AKR? Maybe I thought it was here where the field was narrow. You can actually see there's a ridge runs up this field, but that's maybe just the combine been struggling for traction. He's maybe had the heater up a little bit there. MX13 or 73 that might have been. There's a cow running in there like a maniac. A cafe. Look at this tree here. This has got so much graffiti on it. This is cool. Jenny B. 1982. Shout out Jenny B. If you're watching this video. What does it say here? Rule. Just the K rule. What? This has been something proper written here, but it's. That's a 63 there. Could this be 1963?
Yeah.
So there's 1982, 1963. It looks like this has been changed at one time, this letter here. But it could say Brulek. That's an EC. It's like the name Bruce, but the A and the C is the wrong way around. And what's this here like? It's hard to really say what that says. History and trees, folks. Look at the lie of the land here. We're on the peak of this hill. I would say the way the ground is here with these stones, this has all been a giant riverbed at one time, where the river southwest and that comes down the glen. This has just been loads of water. Because there was like glaciers and that up Glenclova, and if you imagine that the water would have been flowing away from all that constantly. Look at it here. It's all like river bottom pebbles. This has actually maybe been dug out like a bit of a stone quarry at one time. Or would this be anything to do with the archaeological dump? There's actually a cool interesting story from around here that I forgot to say in my last episode. But it's not really a spooky story, but it's an unusual story. When a tree blew down one time near here, no far from here, the wood from that tree used to glow in the dark. So what would be the connection? Is it connected to the Roman fort? Some sort of spill or something that they had been dumping may have gone into the wood? Or is it something more creepy? Has a UFO or something been near the tree? But it was a tree that blew down one year, and then when it was cut up, it glowed in the dark. At night it was lit up. Like, have you ever heard of that before? That's a crazy, unusual story. But it's 100% true, so who knows, folks. Look, this ridge continues on there. That's where my car is, I think. These old stone walls that line the fields around here in Scotland will be ancient. And that field line could have been there since the 1500s, maybe even older. I still wonder if there's been an old path still here in Inverquarity Castle though. Because the way this hill, well, I'll know by the end of this hill whether my opinion's correct. I didn't even know until like recently, a couple of weeks ago, that there was even a Roman fort here. Local history which is not talked about. When I was at high school and that, just like a few miles up the road, they didn't teach you that. They teach you French and stuff like that for miles away, but they didn't teach you the history here, on your doorstep, which is the most interesting history. But that's the sort of history you get right here on the channel. Every week. Look at all the different colours of these trees. If there was no wind blowing, it would be the perfect time for doing a YouTube video. This little stream down here in front of us is totally like bursting its banks. So that's probably carved the landscape even more itself. That used to just be a little stream that went that way, didn't it? Yeah, it was a mill lane that went that way. AKR's just corrected me. On the last video we looked at the top of this bridge down. So at the end of this scene we'll have a quick look underneath it. Because this is actually the bridge in the thumbnail of this video, so we'll better actually have a proper look. Look at this folks, we're doing it. We're over the top of the river right now, getting the footage. Look at that. Under the bridge folks. I get the shot. I wouldn't advise standing here and leaning. I'm just leaning against this post to stop me falling in. 1875 this bridge was put up, and it still handles modern day traffic, and it's wide enough for two cars to go over at the same time, so it's pretty crazy. Like back then it was clearly over engineered. Anyway folks, I'll end this one here. It's goodbye from me, goodbye from AKR.
Goodbye from me.
We'll catch you very soon in the next adventure here on BKR.